Is that better now? Okay, I think that's better. There! We're not lagging anymore. Have I been lagging all this time? Damn. Sorry about that, chat. Mm. My bad. I didn't realize. I think it was because of... I hate it if the recording messed up while we were watching that. Yeah, I'm good. How you been doing, As? Have you still been playing Valorant? I did play Valorant, actually. I played for like 3 days straight. Off stream, of course, because we've only streamed once this week. PC, you know, the usual. Last Monday, I think, I finished my placements, but I didn't really care about it. I didn't try hard. I ended up fucking silver 1. I was so bad. My aim was so shit. Regardless, it was alright. I just wish I could stream it, but I don't think I can anymore, chat. That's because I installed Genshin again, and it's taking up a huge space. And I also have Osu. It's really... my computer is basically really sensitive when I store something new. It affects my stream and game performance. Ew. Come on, Genshin isn't that bad. When I'm tired of my what do you call this? Usual games, I play Genshin. Especially when I'm done with ranked for the time being. Isn't that a Roblox game, or is that a whole different game? Why not? I was thinking of trying it. It's actually pretty interesting. Especially after I watched Kade and Tarik's stream where they played Just to Impress. Tarik was really cute. Slay type shit, you know what I mean? It was freaking funny. Oh, it's Roblox. I've never played that game yet. I did install Roblox, but not for me. But for my nephew. Last Friday, I think. Should I try? I mean, should I do a Roblox stream? Wait, I switched scene. What? You know what? Let's try Arena. I think nothing much has changed for this RGM. Don't do it? Why not? I think it's fun. But I did check out Roblox a bit. I didn't play, but like, supposedly there are a lot of mini games in the game, right? I think they're pretty boring. I don't know. Except for Dress to Impress. It's so great. Yeah, well, it's a kids game. This is a huge ass lobby. Mag-arena tayo, pre. So cringe. Have you tried it though? As play natin. How do you like view your rank here? How do you check the rank ladder for Arena? No, I only watch reviews to play. I see. I don't play it mainly because I think the games are boring. But with Dress to Impress, I'm kind of interested. What? Eh? Hmm? Pre, do you play Roblox? Oh?
Yes. Nilaro ko yun, mukhang gago.
Really? Really? Now I wanna try it more.
Naglalaro kami nun nila Ross minsan, paggabi, na ipagsuntuan yun.
Oh, really?
May ano kasi dun, may game kasi dun na 1v1 na parang boxing.
Does it, is it like, for every time you try a mini game, do you have to download it?
Ah, hindi boy. Yung i-install mo lang yung Roblox sa PC.
Ah,
Hindi
so
mo
you...
kailangan i-download.
Ah, okay, okay.
Maganda yung mga horror games nila rin yun.
But you know what? I'd rather play Minecraft than Roblox.
Ewan. Sa akin kasi, okay lang naman parehas.
But speaking of Minecraft, Stardew Valley is on sale. I'm so tempted to buy it. But I don't know if it's gonna be worth it.
Laban ng TS ngayon, boy. Tapos G2.
In what? Valorant?
Oh.
Really?
1-0 na. TS lamang.
For what? BCT?
BCT.
What? Which champion combos would be nice here?
Hindi ko na alam to eh.
Yeah, I forgot already.
Madami kasi nadagdag.
Wait, you can ban? What?
Oo.
Hindi, what I mean is, madami ka lang pwede i-ban. Ban that. Ay, never mind. You only get to ban one. I thought you get to ban more than one.
Mag-ano tayo po.
More players now? What? Which champions do we play?
Mastery Taric.
Gay. Sure,
Ay,
sure.
Wait. Ay, nakaban pala si Taric.
Ah, di ban Tarik? Then who?
Nakaban din Darius.
Leona.
Leona? Wala tang combo
Blitzcrank.
si Leona. Galio prior.
Gay. Galio. Time to make an impact.
Pwede pala tayo mag-mastery Yugi.
Me? That's boring.
Kaso bukin yun.
Yeah.
Maganda to. Piling ko maganda to.
Set volley. Camille Shaco. Wait, you can play... What? Nag-pick ulit ang set?
Oh, alam ko pwede.
Baduy naman. It should be like if it's already picked, you can't pick it anymore. Mas maganda kasi if ganun, there are so many champions. let me just mute the... Oh, my
Team
bad.
Bobo, Team Krog.
Yeah, let me just remove this so it wouldn't get too loud. Recon time. Ah.
Dadaya ng pick nila.
Kaya nga, the volley set. I think that's
Okay
gonna
naman,
be a
daya rin naman
problem.
tayo dito, boy.
Kalista ano pre, it actually worked. Kalista Velvet. Ooh, they improved the loading screen layout. So, go first. Team Krug. Okay. Well, I need to remove the QR code. It's persistent. Thank you, Us. Good night. Just kidding, I'm not around. Happy early birthday. Thank you. Thank you. But no, you should be around. I'll stream my birthday. Birthday stream. 'Cause I think I'm gonna celebrate it IRL Friday pa. And 17 is Wednesday. Yeah. Is the game started?
Hindi pa, boy.
Bomba nagar! Wait, oh, we also get to... Ah, wow! You can do that? That's pretty cool. You can actually click them? Interesting. Ganda. Angas ah. I really hope we're not gonna lag when we're in game. Whoa!
Welcome to the Rings of Wrath, fighters! You got guts, we got glory!
Ah. Ito na lang.
Oh my god.
I've got a high tolerance for magic. Takes a lot.
I have Bami Cinder. It's an augment.
Kawawa tayo dito early pre.
Who is that? Oh, Heimer? Is that Heimer? Oh.
Hindi tayo dito pwede wala ako pre. Wala akong makukuha dyan. Kailangan ikaw muna. Or, antayin natin yung...
Yeah. We fight later. Just don't die. Pre, I couldn't TP.
They Just don't make doorways big enough.
Tara,
Dito.
let's do this.
Let's move.
He flashed out! Brinket! No! He hit the plant! Oh my god. Blue foul!
And a hush falls over the crowd as the fighters exchange legal tender for objects of indeterminate worth.
Yes, sir. I forgot to change that. What do you mean? You didn't notice my stingers before? The only thing that's changed is a few layouts.
Tragedy is worse when you can do nothing.
Emo set. Eh.
You go set kasi hindi mo naka-enjoy lang hindi ko naka-enjoy ko sa computer. Hindi ba natin
Didn't I fight you yesterday?
Frey, you're dying already. Nice one. Nice.
Lagi na pre, lagi ako dito pre.
Ken? Oh yeah, Callista's annoying here. Oh damn.
Ano to? Attack speed.
What is this? Ah.
May turbo Chen tank ka nakuha.
No. Can we buy it? Wala ba yung red na juice?
And we're back in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Ano kalaban natin?
Swain Shen.
Excuse me.
Pre, you're dying! Yeah, hit the thing! Oh no, I can't use my ult! Get off me.
Di ba hindi nakaka-exit fire? Okay.
We're already done. Let's report sets to IGN.
Let's go fight something else.
Let's buy this one.
Our attorney's gracious benefactor put a lot of money on these fights, so make it worth his while.
Where's our dummy?
It's completely unfair. I didn't ask
No, it's the TK said.
Oh.
I love the way they squish.
Holy shit, bro.
You're dead? Oh my god.
Oh my god.
I gave you a shield, but was useless. Damn.
Bro.
What is the blue thingy? Ay, wait, you can rest. What? Ocean Soul. Huh. They're not moving for 1.5. I think I picked the wrong augment.
Ako pang DB tayo dito.
It sounds like fun.
What is this?
Hindi ko alam. Tabanan na lang natin ng ano.
Ah, so, ay! No way! So we can't cross pala. You can cross with this or this. Ah, this is pretty
Pwede
cute.
din sa launcher.
Yeah. What is this? Legendary mage item. Huh. I don't have enough gold.
The fighter's fun, providing your items and my paycheck.
Kalista tayo po, kalista.
Yeah.
Pag natamaan ko, sige na lang.
You're so squishy. Hit the plant. Oh my god. What the hell is that attack speed? There's more? Okay. Ouch.
Rises up into the ring.
Fought a house once. Pretty sure.
Oh, I think nandito sila.
No. Nice, but no! I wanted to click this, not flash.
Pangit ng pick natin. Kailangan spray. Walang kabis mo yung masyado yung mga binibili.
Sad.
Matrat lang.
Donato Ipritu. Oh, we're ranked wood. Hello. So I've already played. Ay, hindi pala. So you Provis. 1 out of 5. Bakit? What happened? Oh, JD seed. Wait, I forgot about this. We really need to catch up to this. It's too bad if we're gonna miss the rewards. Just have to play a few games of TFT. And it ends in 8 days. You don't know. Really? That sucks. Let me try again while I wait. Maybe try repairing the client, Jay. Yeah, I don't know what's wrong. What else could be wrong? Aside, I don't have hextech chests pala, but I have keys. Do we not have anything else free to claim? What should I try next? Wait. I think... Wait, I'm trying to fix something. Where's my... Jana? Why would you pick Jana?
My heart and sword, always for Demacia.
Wait. Try to fix something. But it's not working. Okay, there we go. Why did she auto block Jana? Huh? I don't get it, chat. Isante Jin? Damn. MF Mokai. It's gonna be annoying. Shenbriar. Sayancho. Morde Aire. Huh. Hello, Koichi. I'm good. What about you? We're just chilling for today. Kind of read a little bit of Ornn and Aurora's lore, I mean. And then now we're playing Arena. Yeah, I haven't streamed for 6 days straight. I got really busy.
Your glove! Oh, not all of you have gloves? But that's right. It's a fight to the death kind of tournament.
Who are we fighting against? I'm actually dead already.
Here we come. Fire's approaching.
Aren't you in my Discord server, Koichi?
I feel this you.
What do I buy first? Sterox.
The face of your killer is identical.
Where's the dummy? What? Why don't we get dummies?
It's go time, brawlers!
Into our work.
Begin!
I'm dead again. Because she ran away. Why pick Jana? Don't get it. Oh no. Demon King's Crown? Sheesh. It's a freaking 1v2 game. All the time because you picked Jana. Why is he... She's not buying anything, I think. Oh, she is. She built AP.
I stand ready.
The Maokai is AFK, what?
fighting.
Oh no. What are they building? Moonstone on Morden?
It's fighting time. Electric, this competition's heating up.
Let's wait for the time. She can't even hit her Qs. And that barely did any damage.
Don't get caught out.
What? I wanted to hit the plant.
Fight complete. Your team lost.
Sad.
At most tourneys, the fighters get money after they win the whole thing. Here, we do things a little different.
Roma has a hat.
Has joined the fight.
Bro, I'm already dying? Oh my gosh. I couldn't even get close to Jin. One more hit!
That's your duel.
She didn't auto! I think next that we'll be playing against will be Rom and Lucian.
On the line, fighters. The next round's almost
Oh, it's Braum and Lucian.
Fight like rats! All safe from the mist.
I feel this heal for you.
What? No! Oh my gosh. We were so close to killing Lucian.
Has been eliminated. Team Minion is no more.
Sad. Why pick Janna on Arena? Crazy. We're still in wood division. What the hell? Let's play Aram. Why would you pick Janna in Arena? Champions that are good in Arena are usually bruisers or melee champions. Range would be good, but it would be best if you pick mages and ADC. Thank you for the follow. How you doing, Skymore? Hey, what's up, Jots? I don't have a water with me right now. I am hungry. I'm hungry for dinner. Today's Sunday, and that reminds me there's gonna be a new episode tomorrow of House of the Dragon. I'll grab some water after the game. I don't want to play Smolder in the lane. Chat, don't play scaling champions in Marine. I mean on Aram. I don't recommend it. It's also good if you have more AoE. I think I only have one Jack skin. Yeah. Only Empyrean. We don't have ADC. We're fine. I think. That was satisfying. Aram is so much better. But I'm actually glad that they removed Aram rank. What should I build with first? Hey, what's up? We're just chilling with normal games today. I'm gonna keep playing Arena, but it's boring if I can't talk to your duo. I don't like playing with randoms in Arena. And last game she picked Janna. Why would you pick Janna? Flushed out. I wanted to pick Nato, but she didn't reroll, I think. Wukong's dying. Do I really bet Triforce first? Or Arya is here? No. Sorry about that. I switched tabs.
You've stolen my heart.
She was one auto away from dying.
Deserving of redemption.
Wait, I switched tabs.
An enemy has been slain. An ally has been slain.
Yeah, that lag is crazy. Hold on.
Light on my feet.
Ally has been slain.
Sorry.
I'll save you, Willem. Save you, let's say. Get them!
Sky looks mighty free of void. You're welcome.
Ouch. Are you kidding me? I didn't notice that he was there.
Even though I've got it. How many eyes?
Enemy double kill. Ally has been slain.
Aw, you know. I wanted to go for Ash.
Don't much care for the hungry.
Rampage. Enemy double kill. Shut down. You have slain an enemy. You have slain an enemy.
The hell was that?
What did you learn?
I should have waited for Nico and Nunu. I went in first.
Has been slain.
Didn't deserve it.
Here we go. What was that ult? Wait, where's this one?
I'll test their metal against my fire.
I'm gonna wait for Wukong. Don't talk a wave. What was that? What was that? This Nico is really weird. I could have killed Fizz as well.
Triple kill.
I had no flash or any other HP to cling on to.
Your turret has been destroyed. Shut down.
Pretty much.
Handful. Goodbye, fake Nico.
Goodbye, fake Nico.
Quick to the spot. That's work. I found it hard.
No, I'm tanking the turret. I could have killed Soraka. Ah.
An ally has been slain.
Dead.
Has been slain. An ally has been slain. An ally has been slain.
Nah, I had no flash. Oh my god. I can't move! Oh my gosh.
No, don't go.
Sad. They're so difficult to reach.
Shut down. Double kill. Utterly.
Damn. Why is she pinging my Jack show? I fucking built it right. What do you mean?
Ally has been slain. Enemy double kill. Shut down.
You're 3 and 10, you can't even hit your root right. Hello, Corby. Why are you pinging my Jack Shaw when I really should be building this one?
Shut down.
Feel this.
My flame's been burning a good while. You haven't found someone worth
Ally has been slain.
This is a freaking 3v2 game. 3v5.
Has been slain. Ally has been slain.
It's always the damn fizz.
Has been slain. Enemy double kill.
Thanks for dropping by, Koichi. She's hit again. Oh my god, everyone's on me. There's no way we're winning this. He just ran away. Whenever when we try to get close to them, they just run away. Then Soraka heals them while at it. If we ever get to hit anyone.
The king fell, but the rest of the world won't follow. Not on my
Nice.
Enemy double kill. Triple kill.
well, the end of the world is gonna stop itself.
Bam, shang-a-lang. I wanted to engage, but I FF the turret first. Nice. Oh no! Too bad! Couldn't get that kill before he died.
Light on my feet.
Da, 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 da.
Not as spry as I used to be, I guess.
Shang-a-lang.
Ally has been slain.
I'm touching so much! Fuck! Oh my god. They just keep running away. I wanted to go in because Fizz wasn't there.
Your inhibitor has been destroyed.
Caught
Count
been slain.
I can't move!
Shut down. Aced.
Report.
You have slain an enemy.
Will they now see I can do this?
Your turret has been destroyed.
Holy shit, this brat! Oh my gosh, she's so annoying. The lag. Oh my gosh. He keeps on minding other people's items when he can't even do his job. Hit his E, follow up with his Q, and then don't miss the ult. Back. I had no idea there's a Durex ad on Spotify. Till now, what? Bow, 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 bow. Da, 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 da. I wanted to honor Nunu, but my client lagged. Da, 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 da. Hold the line. Love isn't always on time. This song suits Jack so good. Ba, 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 ba. Love isn't always on time. Ding, 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 ding. Hold the line. What do you even use the realm crystals for? Is it for the shop? Oh. Oh, it is. Ooh, okay. Hold the line. Love isn't always on time. Ooh, it's a lot. We have 1k now. Love is an on time. Why do I keep getting realm crystals? Love is an always on time. Oh, that is so cute. Love is an always on time. Dear. We need AP. Okay. Is it always so time? Hey, I love this song. Why did he change to Aatrox? I wanted to play Naughty or Thresh if no one picked Nafiri. I'm still standing. I'm still standing. Thank you for the follow, disciple.
Artifacts for the word.
Do we really go for Eclipse? Ah. I'm still standing.
Welcome to the Howling Abyss.
Turbo on. Just needs a little kick. Minions have spawned.
missed, sorry. Oh, you can Q twice? I forgot. How is that so short? Oh, here she comes. Aww, sad.
Shut down. An ally has been slain. Shut down. Shut down.
Your technique reminds me of your home. Here's fun.
Know your name.
Is identical to mine.
I received my plan for nothing.
Shut down.
Do you want burger? Do you want? She's mad eater. Hey.
Deep inside me.
Here she comes. Oh, here she comes.
Do not confuse feral with stupid.
Watch out, boy. What? Are we recording for him?
Is dominated. Shut down. An enemy has been slain.
That wasn't my kill?
Has been slain.
Nice. Kid.
Shut down. Enemy triple kill. Shut down. Ace. Shut down.
What else should we buy next?
To your height. Shine once more before the end.
Has been slain.
Nice. Ilang percent na ba yan, Kate? Patingin. Sige mo nga muna sa akin yan. 10? Tingnan niya muna.
Ganyan, bidis sa ropa. Yung bidis niya.
Oh, search na natin yan. Mag-ult ka na talaga, lads. That was a quadra kill for her?
You have slain an enemy.
Da, 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 da.
Your turret has been destroyed. As the desert dunes. Double kill. Ace.
Da-dum, da-dum. Da-dum, da-dum.
Team has destroyed a turret.
Masks of the kindred seek you.
Shut down. Your team has destroyed an inhibitor. An enemy has been slain. You have slain an enemy. An enemy has been slain. You have slain an enemy. Killing spree. An enemy has been slain.
Nice!
Your team has destroyed a turret. Your team has destroyed a turret. Not here, not yet. Shut down. Shut down.
Aww, I had no W! Should have just queued him, my bad. Are you okay, baby? Why do you feel a little gloomy, huh? wasn't able to buy that pot.
Don't stop when.
Your team has destroyed an inhibitor.
Work. Ouch. Oh my gosh! 2 hits? Or was that 4th shot?
An enemy has been slain. An enemy has been slain. Victory!
Did he get a chest? Oh. Only a capsule? I'm waiting to get 150 so that hopefully I'll be able to buy Prestige Zoe, Arcanist Zoe. The dog. Reroll.
Guys never lie.
By my will, this shall be finished.
The guilty will know agony.
I don't have any other virus skin. Damn. Eh. nature. Excuse me, Donut. Wait. Oh, I can actually build vitality.
Welcome to the howling of rivers. Minions have spawned.
We have a brand? Do you remember? What? Oh, Brand noticed me.
Double kill. You have been slain.
You.
Shut down. An enemy has been slain. You have slain an enemy. effectively.
What? ABC?
A summoner has reconnected.
Hey! Come and get your love. Come and get your love. Come and get your love. Hey.
I am darkened. Even devils cannot enough.
An ally has been slain. An ally has been slain. You have slain an enemy.
Come and get your love. Get your
You have slain an enemy. An ally has been slain. Shut down. Shut down.
Dong 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 dong.
An ally has been slain.
No chops! Ah, they affect me this time.
An ally has been slain.
Wait, let me just switch tabs, no?
An ally has been slain. Shut down.
That didn't kill him?
You have slain Shut down. An enemy has been slain. Enemy double kill. Enemy triple kill.
I have no Edge of Night yet.
Aced.
More than I wanna see. Oh! I'm gonna wait for my Edge of Night. Okay.
Has been slain.
Join me in retribution, if you must.
I missed for the first time in forever. I should have ghosted, not flashed, my bad. Ay, ay, ay.
Aced.
President Pinto Ball.
So long as this bow remains,
What can make me feel this way? I believe in love.
Has been slain. Enemy double kill. Enemy triple kill. Shut down. Aced.
What can make
on over
me
for a closer
feel this
inspection. Fetch the rest of your team. I'll wait. Demacia!
talking about?
Like my weapon?
Stupid
Come on over for a closer inspection. Fetch the rest of your team. I'll wait. Demacia!
Should not
Get some!
Has destroyed a turret. Your team has destroyed an inhibitor. Quadra kill. Aced. Shut down. Your team has destroyed a turret.
Don't care. Plus 50.
Victory!
Sure. It's already 7:11 p.m. chat, and we played and streamed long enough for today. So that's pretty much it for me. The last one tonight. Last game. Well. Not true. Do we honor? J4, I guess. Or maybe Velcos. But before I leave, I wanna raid. Who do we raid, chat? Dunk dunk. Bum. Bum. I may watch Kaiju number 8 tonight. We'll see. Or maybe I'll just end up again with another movie. I watched Inside Out last night. Hey. Come true. Me. Okay, maybe let's try reading Yumi VT. Sorry about that, my head just knocked off my camera. Okay, she's also streaming League of Legends right now. Let's show her some support by giving her a follow and dropping Pixie Lolly right in her chat. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you for those who sticked around the stream and those who followed. Thanks, Ika, but I'm gonna end the stream now. Thank you for those who lurked and joined me today. I have to eat my dinner now. I'm so hungry. I'll try to make up for the lack of streams this week, starting today and more tomorrow for sure. I'll post the stream schedule next week tomorrow. Bye bye. Thank you, titties. Let's read. Wait, what? Raid Yumi VT. Bye bye. Nyong. Bye, Matt.
How did you die, sir? Oh shit, hello, hello. How you doing? How's your weekend? So shit, man.